Montana Territory, winter 1882, a knock at the door, 3 times, middle of the night. Middle of a blizzard that could kill a man in an hour. Rose Ashford stands inside a cabin cold as death, hand on a rifle. 60 days until the bank takes everything. $280 she doesn't have. 2 sons gone 5 years. Not a letter, not a word. 51 years old, alone. Burning furniture to stay warm. The knock comes again. A man stands out there, covered in snow. Blue eyes staring through the crack. Sorry to bother you, ma'am. My horse broke his leg. Had to shoot him. I just need somewhere warm till morning. She could close the door. Let him die in the snow. Nobody would know. Nobody would care. Or she could open it, and everything would change. Sometimes the best things in life come from the cold. From strangers. From doors opened on nights you think you have nothing left to give. This is a story about a widow who forgot how to live. And a man who forgot why to live. About pain that can't be forgiven. And forgiveness nobody expected. About love that came late, but came right on time. This is the story of Rose Ashford, the woman who opened the door. Montana Territory, December 1882. The kind of cold that makes your bones ache. The kind that seeps through walls, through wool, through skin. Rose Ashford sat alone in the cabin that had once been full of voices, now just wind. She was 51 years old and tired. Not the tired that comes from a day's work. The tired that settles into your soul when you've buried a husband, watched your sons walk away. Counted the days until the bank takes what's left. 60 days. That's what the letter said. 60 days to find $280. Or lose everything. She didn't have $280. She didn't have 80. The fire in the stove was dying. She fed it the last broken chair leg. Watched it catch. Burn. Tomorrow she'd have to start on the table. 5 years ago her husband Edward had hung himself in the barn. Not because he was sick. Because he owed money. Because he'd gambled away half their land at a poker table in Billings, and couldn't face what he'd done. News found him swinging from the rafter beam. She cut him down alone, washed his body alone, buried him behind the barn alone, and told her sons he'd died of pneumonia. Because she thought she was protecting them. She wasn't. Nathaniel was 19 then. Smart. Angry. He figured it out within a week. Tobias was 15. Quieta. But he knew too. They both looked at her with the same question in their eyes. Why didn't you stop him? And she had no answer. Because she'd tried. God knows she'd tried. She begged Edward to stop gambling. Stop drinking. Stop disappearing for days. But he never listened, and she'd stayed quiet about it. For the boys. For the neighbors. For the church ladies who'd whisper if they knew. When Nathaniel left for St. Paul the following spring, she wasn't surprised. When Tobias rode off to chase gold in California a year later, she wasn't surprised either. They didn't write. They didn't come back. And Rose learned what it meant to be alone, not just without people, alone in the kind of silence that eats at you, the kind where you talk to yourself just to hear a human voice. She stood at the window now, watching the snow fall. It had been coming down since morning, thick, heavy, the kind of storm that buried fences, trapped cattle, killed travelers caught in the open. She should go to bed, but the bed was cold and empty, and sleep didn't come easy anymore. So she stood there, watching white fall from black sky, until she heard it. A knock, 3 sharp raps on the door. It froze. Nobody came out here. Not in a storm like this. Not at night. The knock came again. She grabbed the rifle from above the door, checked the chamber, loaded. Her hands didn't shake. 5 years alone teaches you not to shake. She opened the door. Just a crack. And stood on her porch, tall, broad-shouldered, covered in snow. He wore a coat made of deer hide, stitched with sinew. The kind trappers wore. Mountain men. His beard was long, ice-crusted in the hair. His hat low over his eyes. But the eyes. He could see them even in the dark, the blue. Not cold blue, not hard. Tired blue. I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am. His voice was rough. Like gravel under boots. Like someone who didn't talk much. My horse broke his leg in the storm, 2 miles back. I had to shoot him. Been walking since sundown. I just need somewhere warm till morning. Rose didn't move the rifle. Where you headed? Miles City. I heard there's work. You're a long way from Miles City. Yes, ma'am. She studied him. He didn't look like trouble. He looked like a thief. He looked like a man at the end of his rope. She knew that look. She saw it in the mirror every morning. 2 days, she said. No more. Thank you. She stepped back. Let him in. He moved carefully. He was afraid of taking up too much space. Tracked snow across her worn floorboards despite trying not to. She closed the door. Shut out the cold. Fire's low, she said. But it's better than freezing, he nodded. Pulled off his hat. His hair was dark, with gray at the temples, younger than the beard made him look. I'm Matthias Greyson. Rose Ashford. He didn't offer his hand. She didn't either. They stood there in the half-dark. Two strangers, and something about the moment felt fragile. Glass balanced on the edge of a table. "You can sleep by the fire," she said. "I'll get a blanket, I appreciate it." She went to the bedroom. Pulled an old quilt from the chest. Her grandmother's quilt. Stitched from scraps of dresses worn 50 years ago. And she came back. Matthias was kneeling by the stove, feeding it wood from the pile. "You don't need to. Habit," he said. "I don't like sitting idle." She handed him the quilt. Their fingers didn't touch. "There's soup," she said. "If you're hungry, I want to take your food. It's just parsnip broth." More water than anything. He looked at her then. Really looked, and for a second she felt seen. Not judged. Not pitied. Seen. "I'd be grateful," he said quietly. She ladled what was left into a tin cup and handed it to him. He drank it down like it was gold. "Thank you." She nodded. Sat in the chair across from him. The only chair left since she'd burned the others. The fire popped. The wind howled outside. And they sat in silence. Not uncomfortable silence. Just in fear. Silence. "Live out here alone?" he asked after a while. "I do. No husband?" "Died 5 years ago. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't know him." A flicker of something crossed his face. Amusement, maybe. "Fair enough." She pulled her shawl tighter. "You have family." Mr. Greyson. His jaw tightened. "Had a wife. She passed 3 years back." "I'm sorry. You didn't know her either." Rose almost smiled. "Almost. What happened?" He stared into the fire. "She was pregnant. We lived up in the mountains. I went down to town for supplies. I came back, she'd gone into labor. Too early. She was alone. Both of them died before I could do anything." His voice didn't break, but she heard the fracture underneath. "That why you live on the mountain?" "Yes, ma'am." "How long?" 10 years total. Last 3 alone." Wanted to ask more, but didn't. "Some wounds you don't soak, you can stay days," she said again. "Then you'll need to move on." Understood. He wrapped himself in the quilt. Lay down by the fire. Rose went to her room, but she didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, rifle across her lap, listening to him breathe in the other room deep. Steady. The breath of a man used to sleeping in the wild. And for the first time in 5 years, the house didn't feel empty. When Rose woke the next morning, the sun was barely up. She dressed quickly, pulled her hair into a knot, walked into the main room expecting to find Matthias still asleep by the fire. But he wasn't there. The quilt was folded neatly, the fire stoked, fresh wood stacked beside it. She went to the window. He was outside. Chopping wood, the axe came down in smooth, powerful strokes, split the logs clean. He worked without a coat despite the cold. Steam rising from his shoulders. Rose stood there watching, feeling, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Curiosity. Not about what he looked like under that shirt. Although curiosity about who he was, where he'd been. Why a man that young would choose to live alone on a mountain. She pushed the thought away. To start breakfast, oatmeal. Thin. Not much left in the sack. When Matthias came in, he brought the cold with him. And the smell of pine and sweat. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "I know." I said, 2 days, I know." He washed his hands in the basin, sat at the table without asking. She put the bowl in front of him. He ate without complaint, even though it was mostly water. "This is good. It's not. Better than jerky." "Everything's better than jerky." He smiled, just a little, but it changed his whole face. Made him look decayed. They ate in silence. When he finished, he stood, carried his bowl to the basin. Washed it himself. "I noticed your barn door's loose," he said. "I can fix that before I go." "You don't need to." "I want to." She looked at him. "Why?" He shrugged. "Because I don't like leaving things broken." And there was something in the way he said it. Like he wasn't just talking about the barn door. The rest of the day he worked. Fixed the barn door. Mended the fence by the chicken coop. Cleared snow from the path to the well. Rose tried to stop him twice. He didn't listen. She gave up. Instead, she went through the cabin, taking stock flour. Almost gone salt. Maybe a week's worth. Coffee. Ran out last month. Tugger. A memory. Cellar had potatoes. Sprouting but edible. Some onions. Wrinkled carrots. It would last another month. Maybe if she was careful. And alone. But with 2 people? 3 weeks. She sat at the table. Looked at the bank letter again. 60 days. $280. She didn't have it. Didn't have a way to get it. The land was worth something. But not to her. Not if she lost it to foreclosure. She could sell the furniture. Except she'd already burned half of it. She could sell. What? Herself? The thought came unbidden dark. She pushed it away. But it lingered. When Matthias came in that evening, she was still sitting there. Letter in hand. He didn't say anything. Just stoked the fire. Cold water for tea. Set a cup in front of her. She hadn't heard him find the tea. Didn't know she had any left. But there it was, weak, but warm, thank you. He nodded, sat across from her, and waited, not pushing. Just there, finally, she spoke. I'm going to lose this place. He didn't look surprised. The bank? Yes, how much? $280. He was quiet for a moment. How much time? 60 days. You have any way to pay it? She laughed. It came out bitter. If I did, I wouldn't be burning my furniture. He looked at the stove, at the broken chair legs in the kindling box. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't cause it, but he was still watching her, like he was working something out in his head. You have land. 40 acres. Used to be 80. Bank took half last year when I couldn't pay the first note. Good land? Good enough? Water? A creek? Year-round? Timber? Some. He leaned back. This land could support someone. It supported my family for 15 years. Could support someone again. She frowned. What are you saying? He met her eyes. I'm saying I could help. I'm a trapper. Hunter. I know these mountains. Winter's the best time for pelts. Fox. Beaver. Wolf if you're lucky. Properly skinned and dried, those sell for good money in town. She shook her head. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Why? Because. He started again. Because I've been alone on that mountain for 10 years. And in 2 days here, I've remembered what it's like to have a roof, a fire, a cooked meal, someone to talk to. His voice dropped. I don't want to go back to being alone. Rose felt her chest tighten. People will talk. Let them. They'll say I'm keeping a man, are you? No. Then it doesn't matter what they say. She looked down at her hands, worn, scarred. Old woman's hands. I'm 51 years old, so. So you're what? 35? Yes, ma'am. People will think. I don't care what people think. I do. He was quiet. Then, ma'am, with respect. You're about to lose your home, your land, everything you have. What people think is the least of your worries. He wasn't wrong. She knew he wasn't wrong. But still, I can't pay you. I'm not asking to be paid. I'm asking to stay, hunt, help. In exchange for a place to sleep and whatever food there is. That's not fair to you. It's fair if I say it is. She looked up at him. His eyes were steady, honest, and for a moment, just a moment, she let herself hope. 2 months, she said. If you can help me make enough to pay the bank, then you can stay till spring, deal. He held out his hand. She took it. His palm was rough, warm-mouthed, and something in her chest shifted. Next week, Matthias hunted every day. He left before dawn, came back after dark, brought rabbits, fox, a beaver. He skinned them at the table, stretched the hides on frames he built from willow branches. Rose watched him work, precise, methodical, not a scrap wasted. Where'd you learn to do that? She asked one night. My father. He was a trapper. He teach you to live on the mountain too? Matthias's hand slowed. No. I taught myself that. Why? He didn't answer for a long time. Finally, because I needed to be somewhere nobody could find me. Why? His knife stopped moving. Because after Mary died, I wanted to die too. And if I stayed around people, they'd have tried to stop me. The honesty hit her like a fist. But you didn't. No. Why not? He looked at her. Because dying's easy. Living's the hard part. She understood that. God, she understood that. Is that why you came down now? Because you're ready to live? Maybe. He went back to scraping the hide. Or maybe I just got tired of talking to trees. Rose smiled despite herself. Trees don't talk back. Exactly. They fell into a rhythm. He hunted. She cooked. They ate together. At night, after the work was done, they sat by the fire. And Rose did something she hadn't done in years. She taught. Matthias couldn't read well. He knew letters, could make out signs, but books were beyond him. So she started simple. A children's primer she'd kept from her teaching days. He was embarrassed at first, but he learned fast. His finger traced under the words. The cat, gat, good, on. The mat, very good. He looked up. This is a stupid sentence. It's for children. I'm 35. Then maybe you should have learned when you were 5. He laughed, low and rough. And Rose realized she liked the sound. Having someone to talk to, leaked not being alone. She was in trouble. Weeks passed. Matthias had 12 pelts drying. Good ones. He estimated they'd bring maybe $80. Not enough, but a start. Rose tried not to think about it. Tried not to count the days. 42 left. They were sitting by the fire one night when he spoke. You never talk about your sons. She stiffened. Not much to say. They know you're about to lose this place? I don't know where they are. You could find them. They don't want to be found. He frowned. You know. Because they haven't written. Haven't visited. Haven't sent word in 5 years. Why? She was quiet then. Because they blame me. For what? For their father's death. Matthias waited. She took a breath. Edward didn't die of pneumonia. He hung himself in the barn. Because he'd gambled away half our land and couldn't live with it. I found him. Cut him down. Told the boys it was pneumonia. Her voice cracked. I thought I was protecting them. But they figured it out. And they've hated me ever since. Because I lied. Because I stayed with him. Because I didn't stop him. A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away angrily. I'm sorry, Matthias said quietly. Don't be. It's not your burden. Grief's always someone's burden. She looked at him. You carry yours alone, I do. Why? Because I don't know how to do anything else. She understood that too. They sat in silence. His hand was on the armrest of his chair. Hers on the armrest of hers, inches apart. And for a moment, just a moment, Rose thought about closing the distance. But she didn't. She was 51 years old and he was 35. And some gaps are too wide to cross. January came, the snow fell heavier. Matthias now had 20 pelts. He'd estimate $120. Still not enough, but getting closer. One afternoon he came back early from checking traps. Rose was mending his coat. The seam at the shoulder had split. Back soon. Storm's coming. Bad one. He set his rifle by the door, looked at her, and there was something in his face. Something, decided Rose. She looked up. He never used her first name. Today's the day I was supposed to leave. Her stomach dropped. What? When I came here. You said 2 days. That was 4 weeks ago. But the pelts. I know. I'm not leaving. Unless you want me to. She stared at him. Why would I want you to leave? Because maybe you don't want a stranger living in your house. You're not a stranger anymore. Something flashed in his eyes. What am I then? She didn't have an answer. Couldn't find the words. He stepped closer, Rose. I need to say something. And I need you to listen, all right? I've been alone for 10 years. I chose that. After Mary died, I couldn't stand being around people. Couldn't stand their pity, their questions. So I went up the mountain, built a cabin. Lived with the trees and the snow and the silence. He took a breath. I thought that's what I wanted. To be alone. Then I knocked on your door. And you let me in. Fed me, trusted me, let me work, let me stay. And for the first time in 10 years, I remembered what it's like. To have a reason to come home at the end of the day. His voice dropped. I don't want to go back to that mountain. I don't want to be alone anymore. And if I'm being honest, I don't think you do either. Rose's hands shook, Matthias. I know what you're going to say. You're 51. I'm 35. People will talk. You're too old for this. He knelt in front of her chair. But Rose, you're not too old. You're not too anything. You're strong. You're kind. You survived things that would have broken most people. And when I look at you, I don't see age. I see someone who understands what it means to keep going when everything tells you to stop. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm scared. So am I. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? She looked at him. Really looked. The lines around his eyes. The gray in his beard. The steadiness in his face. And she thought, maybe it's not too late, maybe. She wasn't done living, maybe. Okay, she whispered, okay? You can stay. His whole face changed. Relief. Joy. Something deeper. He took her hands. I've waited my whole life for someone like you. And she believed him. That night, the storm hit. Wind like a freight train. Snow so thick you couldn't see 3 feet. Matthias banked the fire. Moved his bedroll closer to the stove. Rose stood in the doorway to her room. You don't have to sleep out here. He looked up. Where else would I sleep? She didn't answer. Just walked back into her room. Left the door open. Matthias stood there for a long moment. Then he followed. The room was small. The bed smaller. He stopped at the threshold. Rose. I don't want you to think. Don't. I'm not expecting. I know. She turned down the blanket. I just don't want to be alone tonight. He nodded. Took off his boots, slipped under the quilt beside her. They lay there in the dark, not touching, just close. And for the first time in 5 years, Rose didn't feel cold. Outside the wind screamed, inside silence. Not the empty kind, the full kind. And somewhere in the middle of the night, his hand found hers, rough palm against rough palm, and she held on. Because sometimes that's all you can do. Hold on, and hope. The storm lasted 3 days. They were trapped inside. And in that small cabin, with nowhere to go, they talked. Really talked, about everything. He told her about growing up in the mountains. His father a trapper. His mother who died when he was 12. How he'd learned to survive alone even as a boy. She told him about teaching. About the one-room schoolhouse in Helena. About the children who came in barefoot with empty bellies. And how she used to sneak them food from her own lunch. He told her about Mary. How they'd met at a trading post. How she'd followed him up the mountain even though everyone said she was crazy. He told him about Edward. How he'd been kind at first. Then distant. Then mean. How the gambling started. The drinking. The nights he didn't come home. They cried, both of them. And when the tears stopped, they were closer. Not just physically. Something deeper. Understanding. On the third day, the storm broke. Matthias went out to check the traps, came back with 5 rabbits and a red fox. "We're going to make it," he said. "You think?" "I know." He skinned the fox at the table. "This one alone is worth $20. Hughes watched him work and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope, not foolish hope, not the kind that sets you up for disappointment. Real hope, the kind that says maybe, just maybe, things could be okay. February arrived. 30 days left. Matthias had 32 pelts. He took them to town. Came back with $160. "We need another 120, Rose said. "I'll get it." "How?" "There's only a month left." He looked at her. "I'll get it." And she believed him. He went out every day after that, dawn to dusk, sometimes later. Rose worried. One night he came back after midnight, limping. "What happened?" "Fell through some ice." "It's nothing. It's not nothing." "You're bleeding." She made him sit. Pulled off his boot. His ankle was swollen, scraped raw. She cleaned it. Wrapped it. "You can't go out tomorrow." "I have to, Matthias." "Rose, we have 3 weeks left. I'm not losing this place. Not when we're this close. It's not worth you dying for." Looked at her. "Yes, it is." And she couldn't argue, because she knew what he was really saying. This wasn't about the land. It was about having a reason to stay. About having someone to come home to. About not being alone, so she let him go. Every day, and every night. And when he walked through that door, she breathed again. 3 days before the deadline, Matthias came home with the last pelts. They counted the money. $265. 15 short. And stared at the pile of bills and coins. "So close, we can sell something else," Matthias said. "Like what? The rifle?" "No. You need that. The furniture. We burned most of it." "Then, Matthias, it's okay. It's not okay." She took his hand. "We tried. That's more than I had a month ago. I'm not giving up. Sometimes that's all you can do." "No." He stood paced. Then stopped. "Wait. What? How much does the bank want?" 280. "No. I mean, how much would you need to pay them off completely?" "Full note?" 350. He stared at the wall. "I have that." "What?" "In my cabin. On the mountain. I've been trapping for 10 years. Saving everything. I have almost $400 hidden up there." Rose's heart stopped. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wasn't sure. If us, if it was real." He turned to her. "But it is, isn't it?" She stood, walked to him, put her hand on his chest. "It's real." He exhaled. "Then I'll go get it." "When?" "Now it's almost dark. I know the trail. I can make it by morning." Matthias rose. "Let me do this. Let me give you something." She wanted to argue, but she saw his face and understood this wasn't charity. This was him choosing her. Choosing this life. "Okay." He kissed her forehead. "I'll be back by noon tomorrow. Promise?" "Promise." He left before she could change her mind. And Rose sat by the fire and waited. He came back the next day, just after noon, like he'd promised. He had a leather satchel, set it on the table. $417. Rose stared at it. "Matthias, that's your money. It's our money. But, Rose, listen to me. I spent 10 years alone on that mountain saving every penny. And for what? You die up there with nobody to know or care. This money doesn't mean anything if I'm alone." He took her hands. "But with you, in this house, on this land, it means something. It means a future. It means I get to wake up next to you, eat breakfast across from you, come home to you at the end of the day." His voice broke. "It means I'm not alone." She was crying. He was too. "I don't know what I did to deserve you," she whispered. "You opened your door. That's all. That was everything. And right there, in that small cabin, the money on the table and the snow falling outside." Matthias Greyson got down on one knee. He didn't have a ring, not yet. But he had words. "Rose Ashford, I know this is fast. I know people will say we're crazy. I know you've been hurt before, and so have I. I also know that I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you." He took a breath. "I don't have much to offer. I'm a trapper. A mountain man. I don't own land or have a trade. All I have is this." He put his hand over his heart. "And it's yours. If you'll take it." Rose was shaking. "Are you asking me to marry you?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm 51 years old. I know. And you're 35, I know. People will talk. Let them. They'll say I'm robbing the cradle. I don't care. They'll say, you're taking advantage of a lonely widow." "Rose," he squeezed her hands. "Do you love me?" She stopped breathing. Did she? She'd known him 2 months. That wasn't long enough to love someone, was it? But when she thought about him leaving, she imagined the house empty again. When she pictured going back to silence and cold and counting the days until death, she couldn't bear it. "Yes," she whispered. "Then say yes," and she did. "Yes, Matthias Greyson, I'll marry you." He stood, pulled her into his arms, kissed her, really kissed her, for the first time. And it was everything, desperate and tender and full of promise. When they broke apart, they were both crying. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." And somewhere outside, the sun broke through the clouds, and the world felt possible. The day they went to town, paid the bank every dollar. Mr. Hansen looked surprised. "Well, Mrs. Ashford, I didn't think you'd manage it. I had help." She looked at Matthias. He stood beside her, solid sure. "This is Matthias Greyson, my fiancé." Innocent's eyebrows went up. "Fiancé? Yes, well, congratulations." He didn't sound sincere. Rose didn't care. They walked out of that bank with the deed in her hand, hers free and clear. On the street, Matthias took her hand. People stared. An old woman whispered to her friend. Rose heard it anyway. Shameful. A woman her age. Matthias heard it too. He stopped, turned, looked the woman in the eye. "Ma'am, with respect, mind your own business." Then he kissed Rose right there on Main Street, in front of God and everyone. And Rose? She kissed him back because she'd spent 5 years caring what people thought, and she was done. They married 3 weeks later, under the cottonwood trees by the creek. No church, no guests, just Sheriff Marcus Holt to witness. Rose wore her grey dress. The one without stains. Matthias shaved his beard, cut his hair, looked almost civilized, almost. In a sheriff from a worn Bible. "Do you, Matthias Greyson, take this woman?" "I do. I haven't finished. I do anyway." The sheriff smiled. "All right then. Do you, Rose Ashford, take this man?" "I do." "You too, me too." "Well then, I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss your bride." And he did. Gentle this time. Sweet, like a promise. That night they lit a single lantern, set it in the window. Not to guide anyone home, just to mark the house as full. For the first time in 5 years, Rose didn't sleep alone. She lay beside her husband, her hand in his, and thought this is what living feels like, not just surviving. Living. And she was so grateful, so impossibly grateful, that she'd opened that door. That night in the storm, when a stranger knocked, because sometimes the best things in life come from the cold. Ling came slowly to Montana, the kind of slow that teases. Melts snow one day, freezes it solid the next. Rose stood at the window watching ice drip from the eaves. March 1883. She'd been married 2 months. 2 months. Sometimes it felt like 2 years, in the best way. Like Matthias had always been there. Other times it felt like 2 minutes. Like she'd blink and wake up alone again. She was Mrs. Greyson now, Rose Greyson. It sounded strange in her mouth. Foreign but also right. Behind her, Matthias was splitting kindling at the table. Methodical. Steady. She loved watching him work. Loved the way his hands moved. Sure, capable. Loved that he was here. That she wasn't alone. But there was something. A shadow at the edge of things. The town. People talked. Oh, they talked. At the Mercantile last week, Mrs. Brennan had looked Rose up and down like she was examining spoiled meat. Married a younger man. "How nice for you." The words dripped honey. The tone said whore. Rose had held her head high. Bought her flower. Left, but it stung. And Matthias knew. Don't listen to them, he'd said that night. I don't lie. She'd smiled despite herself. All right, maybe a little. They're jealous. Of what? Of us. He'd pulled her close. Half those women are stuck in marriages colder than a Montana winter. And here you are, happy. Of course they hate it. Maybe he was right. But it didn't make the stares easier, or the whispers. The way the minister's wife crossed the street when she saw Rose coming. The real trouble started in late March. Rose went to town alone. Matthias was checking the trap lines. She needed fabric, thread, salt. The Mercantile was crowded. Saturday morning, everyone doing their shopping. She walked in and the conversation stopped. Stopped 6 women, all staring. Rose forced herself to smile. Morning. Silence. Then Mrs. Brennan spoke. Mrs. Offie, or should I say Mrs. Ashford. Hard to keep track. It's Greyson now, of course. How could I forget? You married that, what did you call him? Mountain man. His name is Matthias. Yes. The one young enough to be your son. Rose's jaw tightened. He's 35, and you're what? 51? 52? 51. Mrs. Brennan smiled. Sweet as poison. Must be nice. Having a young man too. Help around the house. The other women tittered. Rose felt her face burn. But she didn't run, didn't hide. She walked to the counter, bought what she needed. Paid, turned to leave. Mrs. Brennan spoke again. You know what people are saying, don't you? Rose stopped. I don't care what people say. They say you trapped him. That you used your land to make him stay. That he's only with you for a roof and a meal. Something inside Rose cracked. She turned, looked Mrs. Brennan in the eye. Let me tell you something. My husband chose me, not because of land, not because of money, but because when I opened my door, he saw someone who understood what it meant to survive. Keep going when everything tells you to quit. Her voice didn't shake. And if that threatens you, if that makes you uncomfortable, then maybe you should ask yourself why." She walked out, head high, hands trembling, and cry until she was a mile outside town. That night she told Matthias what happened. He listened, didn't interrupt. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then, "I'm sorry, it's not your fault, it is. If you hadn't married me, don't." She took his hand. "Don't say that. I married you because I wanted to, because I love you, not because I care what Mrs. Brennan thinks. But it hurts you. Yes, then maybe we shouldn't." "Should what? Leave? Go somewhere no one knows us?" He didn't answer, because they both knew there was nowhere to go. This was their land, their home, and they weren't leaving. "We'll get through this," Rose said. "How?" "The same way we got through everything else." Together, he pulled her close, and they sat by the fire, not talking, just being. Sometimes that's all you can do, be and hold on. April came. The ground thawed. Matthias plowed the garden plot. Rose planted seeds, potatoes, onions, carrots, beans. They worked side by side, and slowly the whispers faded. Because people stopped talking, but because Rose stopped listening. She realized something. The women who judged her, the ones who whispered behind her back, they didn't matter. What mattered was this: the sun on her face, the dirt under her nails. The man beside her. This was her life, and it was good, better than good. It was hers. And the letter came, May 1883. Rose was hanging laundry when she saw the rider. Young man. Couldn't be more than 20. He handed her an envelope. "Mrs. Greyson?" "Yes, letter for you. From St. Paul." Her stomach dropped. "St. Paul. Nathaniel." The rider left. Who stood there holding the envelope. Her hands shook. She hadn't heard from Nate in 5 years. 5 years. And now this. She walked inside. Set the letter on the table. Stared at it. Matthias came in from the barn. "What's wrong?" "Letter. From my son." He looked at the envelope. "You going to open it?" "I don't know." "Why not?" Because she sat down. Because what if it's bad news? What if he's hurt? Or dying? Or what if it's good news? She looked up at him. "You think it could be?" Only one way to find out. He was right. She knew he was right. But still, her hand shook as she broke the seal. The letter was short. "Mother, I am writing to inform you that I married last year. Her name is Catherine. Born in February. We named her Rose. I am not writing to reconcile. I am writing because Catherine insisted I tell you. She believes a grandmother has a right to know her granddaughter. I do not agree. But I am trying to be a better man than my father, which means I must face the things I have run from. You lied to me. You stayed with a man who destroyed our family. You chose him over us. I cannot forgive that. But Catherine says forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not the other person's. I do not know if I believe that. What I do know is this. You are 60 days' ride from St. Paul. If you wish to meet your granddaughter, you may come. I will not come to you. Nathaniel Ashford." Rose read it twice, 3 times, then set it down. Matthias picked it up. "Read it." His jaw tightened. "He's punishing you. He's a right to." He said, "Doesn't, Matthias." "Rose, you did what you thought was best. You protected your sons the only way you knew how. That doesn't make you a villain, but I lied to spare them pain, and it didn't work." "No, it didn't." He set the letter down. "But that doesn't mean you deserve this. This cold formal bullshit." Rose almost smiled. "He named his daughter after me. While telling you you're not forgiven, it's something." Matthias shook his head. "It's cruel." Maybe it was. But Rose didn't care because granddaughter named Rose. She had a granddaughter. "I want to go," she said, "to St. Paul." "Yes, Rose. I know he doesn't want to see me. I know he's still angry. But Matthias, a baby, my granddaughter. I can't just ignore this." He was quiet. "What about the garden? The house?" "We'll go together. That's 2 months' travel, I know. And we just planted." "I know." He studied her face. "This matters to you?" "Yes, even though he might slam the door in your face. Even though." Matthias sighed. All right, if it matters to you. We'll go." Rose's eyes filled. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. 2 months on horseback at our age. We might not survive." She laughed, through tears, and kissed him because he understood what it meant to have family, and to lose them, and to be given them maybe, just maybe, a second chance. Left in early June, 2 horses, saddlebags packed, enough supplies for 3 months. The journey was hard, harder than Rose expected. She hadn't ridden this far in years. By the 3rd day, her whole body ached. Matthias noticed. "We can slow down." "No." "Rose, I'm fine. You're limping." I said I'm fine. He gave her a look. The one that said he knew she was lying but wouldn't push. That night came camp by a creek. Matthias caught fish. Cooked them over the fire. Rose tried to eat, but her stomach was in knots. "If he doesn't let me see her, then we come home. What if he hates me? He already hates you." Letter made that clear. She looked at him. You're not helping, I'm being honest. He sat beside her, Rose. Listen, your son is angry. He has a right to be, but he also invited you. Sort of, which means part of him wants you there. I think he's a new father, and new fathers realize things about their own parents, about how hard it is, how impossible. He took her hand. Give him time. Give yourself time, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find your way back to each other. She wanted to believe that God she wanted to. They reached St. Paul in late July. A city. Rose hadn't been in a city in 30 years. The noise, the people, the smell, overwhelming. Matthias looked equally uncomfortable. Where does he live? Rose pulled out the letter. An address was written at the bottom, Maple Street. Near the river, they asked directions. Found the street, a row of narrow houses. Neat. Well kept. Number 14. You stood in front of it, her heart hammering. You ready? Matthias asked. No. Want me to knock? No, I should. She climbed the steps, raised her hand, knocked. Footsteps inside. The door opened. A woman stood there. Young, maybe 25. Brown hair and eyes. Can I help you? Rose's voice caught. I'm looking for Nathaniel Ashford. The woman's eyes widened. You're Rose. Yes. His mother. Yes. A pause. Then, come in. The house was small but clean. A cradle by the window, a table, 2 chairs. Catherine gestured for them to sit. Nathaniel isn't here. He's at work. He's a printer. Works till 6. Rose nodded. This is my husband, Matthias. Catherine shook his hand. Nice to meet you. Then she looked at Rose. He doesn't know you're coming. No, he'll be angry. I know. Catherine smiled. Sad. He's been angry for 5 years. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's not your fault. It is. No. Catherine sat across from them and heard Nathaniel's version of what happened, of why he left. And I've tried to tell him that people make mistakes, that his father's death wasn't your fault. But he won't listen, she sighed. He's stubborn. Like all Ashford men, I suppose. Rose almost smiled. Baby, can I? Catherine's face softened. Of course. She went to the cradle, lifted a bundle, a baby, tiny, perfect. With Rose's eyes, Catherine placed her in Rose's arms, and Rose broke. She held her granddaughter and sobbed. All the years of loneliness, of missing her sons, it poured out. Catherine didn't try to stop her. Matthias put a hand on her shoulder, and Rose held that baby, and felt hope. Real hope, for the first time in 5 years. Nathaniel came home at 6:15. Rose heard him before she saw him, footsteps on the porch. The door opening. Catherine, He stopped, stared. Mother. His voice was flat. Rose stood, still holding the baby. Hello, Nathaniel. He looked at Catherine. Let her in. She's your mother. She's a stranger. Nate, don't. He turned to Rose. Why are you here? You invited me. I said you could come. I didn't say I wanted you to. Rose flinched, but held her ground. I wanted to meet my granddaughter. Well, met her. You can go now, Nathaniel. Catherine's voice was sharp. He ignored her. Did you bring your boy toy? Rose's jaw tightened. That's my husband. Husband. Nathaniel laughed. Bitter. You waited what? 12 minutes after father died before finding a replacement. It was 5 years. Same thing. Matthias stood. That's enough. Nathaniel turned on him. I wasn't talking to you. Well, I'm talking to you. They stared at each other. 2 men, one young and angry, one older and steady. You don't know anything about me, Nathaniel said. I know you're hurting. I know you blame your mother for things that weren't her fault. I know you're taking that hurt and using it as a weapon. You don't know what she did. You know what she didn't do. She didn't abandon you. She didn't stop loving you. She stayed. She survived. And she's here now. Trying to make things right. Nathaniel's face twisted. It's too late, is it? Matthias stepped closer. Because from where I'm standing, you invited her here. You told her about your daughter. You gave her an address. That doesn't sound like a man who's done. That sounds like a man who wants his mother back, but is too proud to say it. Silence? Nathaniel looked at Rose, at the baby in her arms, and something in his face cracked. She lied to me. His voice broke. About father, about everything. Rose's eyes filled. I know why. Because I thought I was protecting you. You weren't. I know that now. Nathaniel shook his head. He watched father destroy himself. Watched him gamble away our home, our future. And you just let him. I tried to stop him. Not hard enough. You're right. He blinked. What? You're right. I should have left him. Should have taken you boys and gone. But I was scared of being alone. Scared of what people would say. Scared of failing. She took a breath, so I stayed. And I lied. And I lost you both anyway. Tears slid down her cheeks. I can't undo that. I can't go back and make different choices. All I can do is stand here and tell you I'm sorry and hope that, maybe, someday, you'll forgive me. Nathaniel stared at her. Then at the baby. You named her after me, Rose whispered. Catherine's idea. But you agreed, didn't answer. Catherine walked over, took the baby from Rose, then turned to her husband, Nathaniel. I love you, but if you send your mother away right now, after she traveled 2 months to see you, I will never forgive you. He looked at his wife, at Rose, at Matthias, and slowly, so slowly, he nodded. You can stay. Tonight, then you leave. All right, I mean it, I know. He walked out, slammed the door to the bedroom. Catherine sighed. I'm sorry, don't be, Rose said. He has a right to his anger, he does, but he doesn't have a right to be cruel. She handed the baby back to Rose. Her name is Rose Catherine, after both her grandmothers, and I want her to know you. Even if Nathaniel doesn't, Rose held the baby close and whispered, Thank you. That night, Rose and Matthias stayed in a boarding house. Rose couldn't sleep. She lay there staring at the ceiling. He hates me. He doesn't. He does. Matthias rolled over. He's scared. Of what? Of loving you again. Of letting you back in and losing you. Turned to him. How do you know? Because that's how I felt. Before I met you, I was terrified of caring about someone again. Of opening myself up. Because I knew, if I lost them, it would destroy me. He touched her face. But then I knocked on your door. You let me in. And I realized, living scared isn't living at all. What if he never forgives me? Then you'll survive. Like you always do. I don't want to just survive. I want my son back, I know. He pulled her close, but Rose, you can't force it. You can only show up, be present, and hope. She closed her eyes. I'm tired of hoping, I know. I'm tired of fighting, I know. I just want peace. He kissed her forehead, then let's go home. The next morning they said goodbye. Catherine hugged Rose. To me, please. I want little Rose to know her grandmother. I will. And don't give up on Nathaniel. He'll come around, you think? I know she lowered her voice. He was up all night, pacing, thinking. He's wrestling with it. Give him time. Rose nodded. Daniel stood in the doorway. Stiff, formal, safe travels. Thank you. Rose wanted to hug him, but didn't, just looked at him, her son, her boy, all grown up. I love you, Nathaniel. I always have. I always will. He didn't respond, but his jaw tightened. Rose saw it, the crack in his armor. It was enough. The journey home was quieter. Rose was lost in thought. Matthias let her be, until one night, camped under the stars. He spoke. You did good. I didn't do anything. You showed up. That's more than most people do. She looked at him. What if it's not enough? It is. How do you know? Because I've been on the other side. I've been the one running, the one too angry to see straight. And you know what brought me back? What? Someone who didn't give up on me. He took her hand. You didn't give up on me. And you won't give up on Nathaniel. That's who you are. That's why I love you. Rose's throat tightened. I don't deserve you. You do. I don't, Rose. Listen to me. You are strong. You are kind. You are worthy of love. And anyone who can't see that is a fool. She kissed him. There under the stars and thought maybe she was going to be okay. They arrived home in September. The garden was overgrown, the cabin dusty. But it was home, cleaned, weeded, harvested what they could. And slowly, life returned to normal. Except Rose kept thinking about the baby, about Nathaniel's face, about the way he'd said, you can stay. Tonight, not a rejection, an invitation, a small one. But an invitation. One night in October, Rose sat down at the table, pulled out paper and pen, and wrote, Dear Nathaniel, I am writing to tell you I am home, safe. Thank you for letting me visit. Thank you for letting me meet Rose Catherine. She is beautiful. I know you are still angry. I understand. But I want you to know. I am here if you ever want to talk or visit. I am here. I will not push. I will not demand. I will simply be here. Your mother. Rose, she sealed the letter, sent it the next day, and waited. Weeks passed. No response. Rose tried not to be disappointed, but she was. Matthias saw it. He'll write. Maybe he will. You don't know that. I have faith. I wish I did. He pulled her into his arms. Then borrow mine. November. The first snow fell. Rose was making bread when Matthias came in. Letter. Her heart jumped. From St. Paul. She wiped her hands, took the envelope, opened it. Mother. Catherine insists I write. She says our daughter deserves to know her grandmother, even if I am reluctant. I do not know how to forgive you. I do not know if I want to, but I am trying. Catherine says that is enough. To try. So I am writing to say. You may write to Rose Catherine if you wish. Catherine will read her your letters. When she is old enough, she'll read them herself. I am not ready for more than that. But it is something. Nathaniel Rose read it 3 times, then looked at Matthias and smiled. It's something. It is. He's trying. He is. She folded the letter, pressed it to her chest. There's hope. There always was. And for the first time in months, Rose felt light, like a weight had lifted, not gone, but lighter. That night she wrote back, Dear Nathaniel, thank you for trying. That is all I can ask. I will write to Rose Catherine every month. I will tell her about Montana, about the mountains, about her grandfather, the good parts, and when she is old enough, if she wants to visit, she is always welcome. I love you, even if you do not want to hear it, Mother." She sent it the next morning. And that night, in bed beside Matthias, she whispered, "I think it's going to be okay. I think so too, not now." But eventually, he kissed her, and they fell asleep, wrapped in each other, in hope, in the quiet knowledge that some things take time, but are worth the wait. December came, cold and hard, but inside the cabin, warmth rose baked bread. Matthias chopped wood, lived, simply quietly. And one night, Rose realized something. She was happy. Not just content. Happy. "What are you smiling about?" Matthias asked. "Nothing, liar." She looked at him. "I'm just grateful." "For what? For you?" "For this. The fact that I'm 52 years old and still learning how to live." He smiled. "Me too. You're only 36. Doesn't matter. I'm learning too." He took her hand. "We're learning together." And Rose thought, yes, that's exactly what they were doing. Learning together. And that was everything. The letter came 3 days before Christmas. Rose recognized the handwriting. Nathaniel's. She opened it with shaking hands. "Mother, Tobias is here. He showed up 2 weeks ago. Out of nowhere, he looks rough, thin. California didn't work out. He asked about you. I told him you visited. Told him about Rose Catherine. Told him you remarried. He didn't say much, but I could tell. He was surprised, maybe relieved. He asked for your address. I gave it to him. I do not know if he will write or visit, but I thought you should know." "Nathaniel." Rose set the letter down. Matthias looked up from the fire. "What is it, Tobias? Your other son?" "Yes, what about him? He's in St. Paul. With Nathaniel. That's good, isn't it?" "I don't know." She stared at the letter. "Nathaniel says he looks rough." "Rough how?" "Thin. Broke." Matthias frowned. "You think he's in trouble?" "I don't know. Maybe." She looked out the window at the snow falling and thought, another son, another chance, another hope. "What do we do?" Matthias asked. "We wait, and if he comes," Rose turned to him, "we let him in. Because that's what you do when someone knocks. You let them in, even if you're scared, even if you're not sure. You open the door, and you let them in." Christmas came and went. No word from Tobias. Rose tried not to be disappointed, but she was. Matthias saw it. "He'll come. Maybe he asked for your address. That means something. Or maybe he was just curious." "Rose, I'm fine. You're not." She sighed. I want both my sons back." "Is that too much to ask?" "No." He pulled her close. "But you can't force it. All you can do is be ready. When they're ready. What if they're never ready? Then you'll still have me." She looked up at him. "Promise?" "Promise." And she believed him. Because if she'd learned anything in the last year, it was this. Sometimes love comes when you least expect it. Sometimes it knocks on your door in the middle of a snowstorm. Sometimes it saves you. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it stays. January 1884. Rose was feeding the chickens when she saw him. A figure walking up the road, tall, thin, limping slightly. She froze. Watched as he got closer and closer until she could see his face. Tobias. Her boy, her baby, all grown up. 2 years old now, but still her baby. He stopped at the gate, stared at her. "Ma." Her voice broke. "Toby." They stood there, 20 feet apart, 5 years between them. And then Rose ran to him, threw her arms around him, and sobbed. He stood stiff at first, then slowly his arms came up, and he held her. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Don't. I'm so sorry you're here. That's all that matters." She pulled back, looked at his face, then bearded, tired, but alive. "Come inside." He hesitated. "I don't want to intrude. You're not. But your husband will be glad to meet you." She took his hand and led him inside, where Matthias was waiting, and where, finally, her family was starting to come home. Tobias sat at the table, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. He looked broken, not just thin, not just tired. Broken. Rose couldn't stop staring at him. Her baby, 22 years old now, but still her baby. Matthias stood by the stove, cooking eggs, bacon, biscuits, more food than they usually ate in a day. But he didn't say anything, just cooked, because he understood. This boy needed feeding, not just his body, his soul. "How long you been traveling?" Rose asked. Tobias didn't look up. 3 weeks. From St. Paul? "Yeah." "You walked?" "Most of it. Caught a ride on a freight train for a bit. Got kicked off outside Helena." Rose's chest tightened. "Why didn't you write? Tell me you were coming." He shrugged. "Didn't know if you'd want to see me." "Of course I want to see you." "Why?" The question hung there, sharp. Rose swallowed. "Because you're my son. I left you, I know. Didn't write for 5 years, I know. Didn't even say goodbye, Toby. So why? Why would you want to see me?" His voice cracked, and Rose saw it, the guilt, shame, the weight he'd been carrying. She reached across the table, took his hand. Because I love you. And that doesn't stop. Not because of time, not because of distance, not because of anything. Tobias looked at her. And broke, he cried. Not quiet tears, sobbing the kind that shakes your whole body. Rose moved round the table, pulled him into her arms, and held him. Like she used to when he was small, when he'd scraped his knee, or had a nightmare. She held him, and whispered, "It's okay. You're home now." Okay. Matthias set a plate in front of Tobias, piled high. "Eat." Tobias wiped his face. "I'm not. You're hungry." "Eat." He didn't argue, just ate, like a man starving. Which he probably was. Rose, her heart breaking and healing, all at once. Tobias finally pushed the plate away. He looked at Matthias. "Thank you. Don't mention it. I'm Tobias. In case Ma didn't, I know who you are." Tobias nodded. Looked around the cabin. "This is nice. It's home. Nate said you got married." "I did," he said. "He said you married a mountain man." Matthias smiled. Guilty. Tobias almost smiled too. "Almost. He said you saved the farm. We saved it." Together, Tobias looked at Rose. "I'm sorry for not being here. When you needed help." "No. I should have written. We all should have done a lot of things." She squeezed his hand. "But we can't go back. We can only go forward. I don't know how. We'll figure it out." Together, that first week, Tobias mostly slept 18 hours a day. Sleep of someone who hadn't felt safe in years. When he was awake, he helped around the cabin, chopped wood, fixed a broken chair, mended the fence, didn't talk much, but he was there. And that was enough. Rose wrote to Nathaniel. "Tobias is here. He's safe. Thin, tired, but safe. I wanted you to know. Love, Mother." She didn't know if Nathaniel would respond, but she sent it anyway. One night, Tobias and Matthias were outside, dighting logs in the last light of day. Rose watched from the window. Tobias said something. Matthias laughed, and Rose felt hope. Real hope that maybe, just maybe, her family was finding its way back. When they came in, Tobias looked lighter. "Matthias says there's good trapping up north." "There is. Says he'll teach me. If I want." He looked at Matthias. He shrugged. "Could use the help." Tobias nodded. "I'd like that." And something in Rose's chest loosened. February came. Matthias and Tobias went trapping together. Gone 3 days at a time. Rose worried. But Matthias always came back. He always brought Tobias back safe, fed, smiling more each time. One night after they returned, Tobias sat by the fire. "I'm sorry I blamed you." Rose looked up from her knitting. "For what?" "For father." "For everything, Toby." "No. Let me say this." Took a breath. "I was angry. After he died, after we found out about the gambling, the debts, I was so angry, and I didn't know where to put it. So I put it on you." His voice shook. "But it wasn't your fault. You didn't make him gamble. You didn't make him. What he did, I should have left him, maybe. But you didn't. And I understand now why you stayed. You were scared, trying to protect us. It didn't work. But you tried." He looked at her. "I'm sorry to see. For leaving. For not writing. For being angry." You set down her knitting, walked to him, knelt beside his chair. "You don't need to apologize." "Yes, I do. No. You were a boy. You were hurt. You did what you needed to survive." She took his hands. "I'm just glad you came back." "Me too." They sat there, father and son. And something that had been broken started to mend. March. A letter came from Nathaniel. Rose opened it with shaking hands. "Mother, I'm glad Tobias is with you. Catherine says I should come visit. See for myself that things are good. Not ready. But maybe this summer, maybe." Nathaniel. Rose read it twice, then handed it to Matthias. He read it, smiled. "He's coming around. Maybe he is." "How do you know?" "Because he's thinking about it." That's the first step. Rose wanted to believe that. For the first time, she did. Spring arrived. Slow and muddy and beautiful. They planted the garden together. All three of them. Rose, Matthias, Tobias, working side by side. And Rose thought, this is what family looks like. Not perfect, not easy, but together. One afternoon, Tobias was digging a row for potatoes. He stopped, leaned on the shovel. "Ma, yes, do you think father would be proud of who I am?" Rose's throat tightened. "I think your father loved you in his own way. And I think he could see you now, working hard, trying to make things right." "Yes, I think he'd be proud." Tobias nodded, went back to digging. But Rose saw him wipe his eyes, and she knew. He was healing, slowly, but healing. May. Another letter from Nathaniel. "Mother, coming in July. Catherine, Rose, Catherine, and me. We'll stay 2 weeks, if that's all right, Nathaniel." Rose read it, then screamed. Matthias came running from the barn. "What? What's wrong?" "Nothing. Nothing's wrong. They're coming." "Who?" "Nathaniel. Catherine. The baby. They're coming." Matthias smiled, picked her up, spun her around. And Rose laughed. Lord, like she hadn't in years. Because her family, her whole family, was coming home. Next 2 months were a blur, cleaning, preparing, making room. Tobias helped build an addition, a small room off the main cabin. For Nathaniel and Catherine, Matthias hunted extra game, smoked meat, stocked the root cellar. Rose sewed, knitted, a quilt for the baby, her granddaughter. She was going to meet her granddaughter. The thought made her dizzy and terrified, and so. Happy July 15th, Rose stood on the porch, watching the road. She'd been standing there since dawn. Matthias came out. They'll be here. What if they changed their minds? They didn't. What if, Rose? Breathe, she tried, failed. And then she saw them, a wagon, coming up the road. Her heart stopped, started again. Faster, they're here. I see them. Really here. Yes, she grabbed Matthias's hand, squeezed, and waited. The wagon pulled up. Nathaniel climbed down, helped Catherine. She held the baby. Nathaniel looked at Rose. She looked at him. 5 years. It had been 5 years since she'd seen him. He looked older, tired, but good. He looked good. Hello, mother. Hello, Nathaniel. They stood there, 10 feet apart, an ocean between them. Then Catherine spoke. For heaven's sake. She walked to Rose, handed her the baby. This is your granddaughter. Rose took the baby and melted. She was beautiful. Perfect dark hair, blue eyes, Rose's eyes. The baby looked at her, didn't cry, looked, and Rose thought, this is why we survive. For moments like this, Nathaniel watched his mother hold his daughter, and something in his face softened. You look good, Ma. So do you. Married life suits you. It does. Matthias stepped forward, held out his hand. Matthias Greyson. Nathaniel shook it. Nathaniel Ashford. They stood there, sizing each other up. Then Nathaniel smiled. Just a little, thank you. For taking care of her. I didn't take care of her. We take care of each other. Nathaniel nodded. Good. And Rose knew it was going to be okay. At night they ate together, all of them, around the table. Rose, Matthias, Nathaniel, Catherine. Tobias, the baby in a basket by the fire. It was crowded, loud, chaotic, and Rose had never been happier. Nathaniel and Tobias were catching up, still talking over each other. Loving Catherine was telling Rose about St. Paul, about their house, about Nathaniel's work. Matthias just sat there, smiling, watching. And Rose looked around the table at her sons, her daughter-in-law, her granddaughter, her husband. Struck her then. This is what I fought for. This is why I held on. For this, the next 2 weeks passed too fast. They worked together, ate together, lived together. And slowly, so slowly, the wounds healed. One night, Rose and Nathaniel were sitting on the porch. Everyone else had gone to bed. They sat in silence, watching stars. Finally, Nathaniel spoke. I'm sorry. Rose looked at him. For what? For being angry. For staying angry. For making you think. I didn't love you. Her throat closed. You had a right. No, I didn't. He turned to her. You made mistakes, but you're human. And I made mistakes too. I left you. When you needed me. I was selfish and cruel. And I'm sorry. Rose's eyes filled. I forgive you. You shouldn't. But I do. She took his hand, and I hope that someday you can forgive me too. I already have. Her breath caught. What? I forgave you. Months ago, when Rose Catherine was born, and I realized how hard it is to be a parent. Make impossible choices. To try to protect your children even when you're failing. He squeezed her hand. You did your best. That's all any of us can do. Rose sobbed, and Nathaniel pulled her into his arms and held her, like she used to hold him when he was small. I love you, Ma. I love you too. And something that had been torn was whole again. The last night before they left, they gathered around the fire. Matthias told stories about the mountain. Tobias told stories about California. Nathaniel told stories about Rose Catherine. How she laughed, how she grabbed his finger, how she had Rose's eyes. Catherine sat beside Rose, bouncing the baby. Thank you, Rose whispered. For what? For bringing him back to me. Catherine's smile brought himself. I just pushed, still. Thank you, you're welcome. She handed Rose the baby. She should know you. Grow up knowing you. I'd like, then it's settled. We'll visit every summer. And you can come to St. Paul. Anytime. Rose looked at her granddaughter, seeming in her arms, and thought, I'm going to watch you grow up. I'm going to be part of your life. I'm going to love you. The way I loved your father. The way I love all my boys. Fierce forever. They left the next morning. Rose hugged Nathaniel. Held on longer than she should. Come back soon. We will. Promise. Promise. She hugged Catherine, kissed the baby, and watched them drive away. Down the long dirt road. Until they were just a speck, then nothing. She stood there. Matthias came up behind her. Wrapped his arms around her waist. You okay? Yes, you're crying. Happy tears. It's good. They stood watching the empty road. And Rose thought, this is what it means to let go. Not to lose, but to trust. that they'll come back. Love is stronger than distance. That family, real family, finds its way. All came, golden, crisp, beautiful. They harvested the garden, canned vegetables, smoked meat, prepared for winter. Tobias talked about getting his own place, nearby, maybe building a cabin on the north edge of the property. Rose liked that idea. Her son close, independent, growing, healing. One night, Tobias was carving wood by the fire, making a toy horse for Rose Catherine. "You're good at that," Rose said. "Learned from a man in California. He made furniture. Maybe you could do that." "Make furniture?" Tobias looked up. "You think people would buy it?" "I think people need chairs, tables, beds. And if they're well made, yes, they'll buy them." He smiled. "Maybe I will," and Rose saw it. Her son, finding his purpose, his path, and she was proud, so proud. Winter came, not as harsh as the year before, but cold enough. They spent evenings by the fire, raiding, talking, existing together. And Rose realized she was content, not just happy, content. The kind of deep soul-level peace that comes from knowing exactly where you're supposed to be. One night Matthias was reading, Rose was knitting, Tobias was sketching furniture designs, and Rose looked around at this life they'd built and thought, 2 years ago I was alone, broke, ready to give up, and now, look at me now. Matthias looked up. "What? Nothing. You're smiling, I'm happy." "Good." He went back to his book, and Rose kept knitting and smiling, because happiness is a choice, and she chose it. Every day, spring 1885. Another letter from Nathaniel. The Tobias wrote to me, told me he's building a cabin, told me he's starting a furniture business, told me he's happy. I'm glad we're coming in June this year, earlier than last time. Rose Catherine is walking now. She asks about Grandma Rose, constantly. Catherine thinks we should stay longer, a month maybe. If that's not too much, Nathaniel. Rose read it, handed it to Matthias. "A month, that's wonderful. A whole month, I heard you, my family." "For a whole month," Matthias laughed. "I'd get sick of them, never." And she meant it. They came in June, just like they promised. Rose Catherine was toddling now. Chubby legs, bright eyes. She ran to Rose, arms up, Gamma. Rose's heart exploded. "Hello, sweetheart." She scooped her up, spun her around, and the baby laughed. That pure, unfiltered joy that only children have. Nathaniel watched. "She's been talking about you for weeks." "Really?" Gamma Rose, over and over. Rose looked at her granddaughter in thought. I'm part of her life, part of her story. And that is everything that month was. Perfect. No other word for it. Perfect. They worked together, plays together, lived together. Nathaniel and Tobias repaired the barn roof. Catherine and Rose tended the garden. Matthias taught Rose Catherine how to feed chickens. She squealed with delight every time. Evenings they sat on the porch, watching sunset, drinking coffee, talking about nothing and everything. And Rose thought, this is what I dreamed of. When I was young, before life got hard. One night Catherine and Rose were washing dishes. The men were outside with the baby, teaching her to catch fireflies. "She adores you," Catherine said. "I adore her. Nathaniel does too. Won't say it. But he's glad we came. I'm glad too." Catherine dried a plate. "Set it down. Can I ask you something?" "Of course. How did you do it? Survive?" When they were gone, Rose was quiet. "I almost didn't. But you did. Because I had no choice." Looked at Catherine. "When you're at the bottom, when you have nothing left, you have two options. Give up or keep going. And I kept going. Not because I was strong, but because I was too stubborn to quit." Catherine smiled. "I think that's the same thing, maybe." Rose handed her another plate. "Why do you ask?" "Because Nathaniel's mother, his real mother before she died, she gave up. When his father left, she just stopped. And I think that scared him, made him think what all mothers do. When things get hard, but I didn't." "No, you didn't." Catherine looked at her. "You fought. And I think, seeing that, changed something in him. Made him realize his mother's choices weren't your choices." Rose's eyes filled. "Thank you for telling me that. Thank you for not giving up." They hugged there in the kitchen, while the men laughed outside, and the baby shrieked with joy, and Rose thought, This is what love looks like." The month ended too soon. Rose cried when they left, but not sad tears, grateful tears because they'd come, and they'd be back. And that was enough. Tobias moved into his cabin that fall, small, sturdy, built with his own hands. He started making furniture, 3 chairs in the first month, a table the next. People noticed, good work, fair prices. By winter he had more orders than he could fill. Rose watched him. Her boy, thriving and felt, pieced 1886. Rose was 55 now, Matthias 40. Been married 4 years. 4 years, it felt like 40, in the best way. One morning Rose woke to find Matthias watching her, What? Nothing, liar. He smiled, just thinking. About how 4 years ago I knocked on your door. Freezing. Lost. You let me in. Best decision I ever made. Mine too. He kissed her. Soft. Sweet. I love you, Rose Greyson. I love you too. And she meant it, with everything she had. Nathaniel and Catherine came again that summer. With Rose Catherine, now 2.5 years old, talking in full sentences. Gamma, I picked flowers for you. Dandelions, wilted. Perfect. Thank you, sweetheart. Rose put them in water, delayed them like roses, because to her they were. That week Nathaniel pulled Rose aside. I have something to tell you. Her stomach dropped. What? Catherine's pregnant. Again. Really? Really? Due in December, she hugged him. Tight. I'm so happy for you. Thanks, Ma. He pulled back. I want you there. The baby comes. In St. Paul? Yes, Nathaniel. I know it's far. But Catherine wants you. And so do I. Rose looked at Matthias. He nodded. We'll figure it out. You will? Of course, Nathaniel smiled. Real smile. Thanks, Ma. For everything. His thought. We made it. Through all the pain. All the years we made it. They went to St. Paul in November. Stayed through Christmas. Rose was there when Catherine went into labor. Held her hand. Wiped her forehead. Whispered encouragement. The baby was born. A boy, healthy, strong. Nathaniel cried. We're naming him Edward. After father, Rose's breath caught. Are you sure? I'm sure. He made mistakes. But he was still my father. And I want to remember the good parts. He's nodded, unable to speak. Because forgiveness, real forgiveness, looks like this. They returned home in January 1887, to Montana, to their cabin, to their life. Tobias had expanded his workshop, hired an apprentice. Business was booming. He came for dinner once a week. Always brought something, a new chair, a footstool, a cradle. For when Nathaniel and Catherine visited. You don't have to keep making us things, Rose said, I know. But I want to. He looked at her. You gave me a home when I had nothing. This is how I say thank you. Rose hugged him. You don't need to thank me, I do. And she let him, because sometimes people need to give to heal. The years passed. Rose turned 58, Matthias 44. They were graying, feeling down, but still. Happy Nathaniel and Catherine visited every summer, with Rose Catherine and Edward in 1890, with a new baby girl, Margaret, tamed after Matthias's mother. Rose held her and thought 3 grandchildren. 3. I am so blessed. Matthias got married in 1889, a quiet woman named Anne. She was kind, good for him. They had a baby in 1890. A boy, they named him Matthias, after the man who'd taught Tobias to trap, to hunt, to survive, and more importantly, to hope. Evening in late 1890, the whole family gathered. Nathaniel, Catherine, the children, Tobias, Anne, baby, Matthias, Rose. Matthias, the cabin was bursting, lewd, chaotic, full so full. Rose stood in the doorway, watching, her sons laughing, her grandchildren playing, her husband telling stories. And she thought, 10 years ago as I was alone, broken, ready to die, and now. Look at this. Look at what we built. Matthias came up behind her. You okay? Yes, you're crying. Happy tears. He kissed her temple. Come on, let's eat. They sat down, all of them crowded around the table. And Rose looked around at each face, each person she loved, and said, I want to say something. Everyone quieted. 10 years ago. I thought my life was over. I'd lost my husband, my sons, my hope. I was alone, broke, ready to give up. She looked at Matthias, and then you knocked on my door. He smiled. You saved me, not just from losing the farm, but from losing myself. You reminded me that it's never too late. Love, to live, to start again. She looked at her sons, and you too, you came back. Even when it was hard, even when you were angry, you came back, and you gave me the greatest gift. Forgiveness. Her voice broke. I don't have much. I have this. I have all of you, and that is everything. Nathaniel stood, raised his glass to Ma, the strongest woman I know, to Grandma. Rose Catherine added. Everyone raised their glasses to Rose, and Rose cried and laughed and felt complete. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Rose and Matthias sat on the porch, under the stars. You did good, he said. We did good. Fair enough. He took her hand. I'm glad I knocked on your door. Me too, even though I was freezing and dirty. It probably smelled like a bear, she laughed, especially because of that. They sat in silence, comfortable, easy. And Rose thought, this is what happiness looks like. Not perfect, not easy, but real, so real. Matthias. Yeah, thank you. For what? For everything. For knocking. For staying. For loving me. He pulled her close. Rose. You don't have to thank me. Loving you is the easiest thing I've ever done. And she believed him, because some people are meant to find each other, even in snowstorms, even when hope is gone, even when everything says, Give up. Some people are meant to find each other and hold on forever. 5 years later, 1895. Rose was 64, Matthias 49. They were older now, slower, but still together, still in love. One morning Rose woke, and Matthias wasn't in bed. She found him on the porch, watching sunrise. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Why? He looked at her. Just thinking. About how lucky I am. She'd sat beside him. We're both lucky. Yeah, we are. He took her hand. Rose, do you ever regret it? Marrying me? All the gossip, all the… No, not even a little? Not even a little. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You gave me a life, a real life, with love and laughter and family. Would I regret that? Sometimes I wonder if you'd have been happier with someone your own age. She turned to him. Matthias Greyson, listen to me. You are the love of my life, the only love of my life. Age doesn't matter. What matters is, you see me, you respect me, you love me, and that is more than most people get in a lifetime. He kissed her deep, full of everything he couldn't say. She understood it now. This man, this beautiful, stubborn mountain man, saved me, and I saved him. And that is love. They lived like that for years. Growing old together, watching their grandchildren grow. Rose Catherine got married in 1898. Edward started college. Margaret became a teacher. Just like Rose, Tobias' son Matthias grew tall, strong, to be a trapper, like his namesake, and through it all, Rose and Matthias held on to each other. On Rose's 70th birthday, 1902, the whole family came, dozens of them now. Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, filling the house, the yard, overflowing with life and love. Rose stood on the porch, watching, and Matthias came up beside her. Now 56, still strong, still hers. Happy birthday, thank you, 70 years. That's something, it is. She looked at him. Never thought I'd make it this far. I'm glad you did. Me too. He pulled her close, and they stood there watching their family, their legacy, and Rose thought, I was told I was too old, too broken, too alone, but I wasn't. I was just waiting. A person at the right time to knock on my door and remind me that life, real life, doesn't end until we let it, and I never let it. Years later, people would ask Rose, what's the secret to a long, happy life? And she'd smile, knowing smile, and say, open your door. Even when you're scared, even when it's cold, even when you think you have nothing left to give, open your door, because you never know who's standing there in the storm, waiting to save you and be saved. And then she'd look at Matthias, her husband, her partner, her love, and think, thank God I opened that door. Thank God.